Hello, welcome to Why Not Both. My name is Pam Schaefer, and I'm a musician and therapist in Los Angeles. Why Not Both is all about how our multiple passions inform our identity, and this season we are brought to you by Under the Radar magazine and produced by Laura Studeris. If you like what you hear, please make sure to like us and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform and come spend time with us on social media. We are at WNB the podcast, and that is both on Instagram and on Twitter. For this episode, we got to interview John from Big Black Delta. We actually recorded this in the before times, so we got to be in the same place and talk about all manner of things, whether they be happy, sad, absurd, existentialist. It was truly a delight, and I hope that you enjoy our chat. So welcome to Why Not Both.
Why not?
Why not? You're here.
Porque no los dos?
Exactly. Thank you for... You're the first guest that has caught on that I named my podcast after a meme.
I know. I don't know that.
You now know it.
I know. See, that's just my default response to, like, I get what you're saying.
Now everybody knows.
Now everybody
I always ask people, I used to ask people, what do you do? And now I just start with, what's a better question than what do you do?
What's a better question is, can you frame your original question in a more specific manner so that we could actually answer it?
Well, because that's interesting you said that, because several people have brought up the, like, commerce aspect of what do you do versus the how do you spend your time, what do you do?
I feel like there's a lot more shades to talk about, too.
Exactly. What are some of the shades?
I don't know. Learning how to love yourself. I know how that sounds out loud, but I think it's the thing that, like, all of us don't know how to do. None of us know how to do it out the gate. I mean, there's a couple people that are like, look at my shit, but I think that's clinical narcissism, and they have their own how to live, and God bless, you know. But I'm just saying that the being okay with being here, I just don't know anybody that is default cool.
So is what we're doing figuring out how to love ourselves and be okay here?
That's a lot of my time to spend on that.
That's good to know.
On the simple things like lighting candles. Like when you brought that up, it was something that you can call it whatever you want. Toxic masculinity, how I was raised. I had great parents, but just a very Hispanic, macho kind of a thing, and to be, not effeminate, but a sensitive boy in that kind of environment, it's not very nice.
No.
And so at 40, I just turned 40, being able to be like, not only am I going to buy a candle, I'm going to make my own.
Heck yes.
Buying nice...
How do you make a candle?
Just go on Amazon. I'm not kidding, just start there.
Just start on Amazon.
Making kit, and then I fell down this hole about, I never took smells seriously, so like spending 6 months just, the difference between neroli and jasmine and all these other fucking things that like, I never allowed myself to even try because of the, whatever, if you want to call it, the self-critic or whatever, that or fear-based thinking that you're not allowed to enjoy anything. You just have to be working towards something, and if you're not afraid, then something bad's going to happen to you.
So if you're not afraid, then something bad is going to happen to you. So if you go...
If you're not suffering, then you're going to be punished in some kind of universal or God way. Do you know what I mean?
Gotcha. So what's it like not engaging in suffering in that way?
So, after severe alcoholism and then getting into really great therapy and finding medication for my depression, which I find out I actually chemically am.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah, well, running 38, 39 years with just deal with it, versus finding medication, talking to somebody, figuring out all these other things. It is a completely different existence.
Wow.
On every level.
So this has been your first year then, or first 2 years on medication, and you...
First year in medication.
Uh-huh.
I think I had 3 or 4 years now not drinking. Like for some people, they take it really serious, the number. I'm just, it was 2000, after Trump got elected. So yeah,
16.
2017, like the beginning of the year.
Oh, the inauguration with
Around
that.
that
Got it.
time. So
Got
like
it.
3 years, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, yeah, man. I know it's very cliche until it happens to you. And then it's profound.
I think that's kind of life in general.
It's totally life in general. It's like, it's all cliche and you're cynical until it happens to you, and then you're just like...
Yeah, you're like, oh, there's a reason why this is a cliche.
Mm-hmm.
This actually applied.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so curious what you're doing with scents now.
Well, you know, it was that thing that, like... I wouldn't even hang up artwork. I wouldn't even buy artwork, because it would be like... You know, you're going to have to move, or something's going to happen, or nice clothes, what's the point? Like there was always like this, what's the point? Why get nice food? Why get any of this other thing? There was just this kind of like 1930 post-depression fear that I had that, which is understandable on some level if you're an artist, because you live a freelance life.
Right.
And you don't know where your money's coming from. But it made me unable to enjoy anything, and not even be able to relate to concepts like vacation.
Did you enjoy actually making the work that you were making?
I didn't enjoy anything.
Ah.
I didn't enjoy anything. Except when I was fucked up.
Got it.
Or winning somebody over.
Oh, gotcha.
You know, like...
Gotcha.
Life's ultimate highs that are really great as spice, but not the meal.
Right.
And I was just living on pepper and salt, you know what I mean? It was like...
Oh, it's like having like I once analogized life to kind of being like a cupcake. Like you have to bake the cupcake and then you can put the frosting on top of it, and that's kind of the fun bit. But like you can't just have like a cupcake made of frosting. It's
or even
gooey and weird.
Like,
yeah, you can't.
There's not even calories in sprinkles.
Yeah,
it's just red dye.
not sustaining. Ooh, yeah, that's true.
Do you know what I mean?
And a strange texture.
Yeah, it's not human.
yeah, it's just like...
you know, and it's a different fucking... life-changing. And it's like, I have a record coming out this year, and the record I made is like being of service, I think. It's just to be of service. Just do everything, like we were talking before you started recording.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I just make shit.
Yep.
It's like, keep it that simple always.
Yeah.
And like, be of service. So it's like, you know, talking to you, share with you that like candle lighting should be respected.
Yeah, for those of you who are not in my living room, which is everybody aside from the two of us, unless
and a cat somewhere.
Oh yeah, and then there's my forbidden love begonia. She's my neighbor's cat. She's obsessed with me. I too am obsessed with her, but I'm allergic. What we were talking about was John had asked me if I had any rituals, and I was talking about candle rituals, and I was saying how much I like the Hanukkah candles, but that I really enjoyed them because it was only once a year, so they're very special.
Yeah. But you know, you're allowed to have other versions of what that feeling is that gives you.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be lighting more candles. It could be finger painting. It could be whatever your version of that is to you. And most of us don't know that. And that scares us. And that's...
Yes.
It's okay. It's okay to take a lifetime to learn what you like. You know, I got really scared when I came out of the cloud, so to speak, and was like, who am I? What do I even like? And I didn't know it. And so there was this, understandably, this fear of a rush of got to get this figured out or else I'm not a person.
Well, yeah, because the way you're describing it, it sounds like almost like not a void, but like a blank space where the things you like should be.
I never knew that we had that.
Ah.
I guess people would call them hobbies.
There's several different artists I've talked to where one of my friends who I'm going to interview him at some point, so I'm like, I guess spoiler alert for that, but he told me that he's 38 or 39 now, and it's the first time he's had a hobby. He runs now, and he was so excited to tell me that he had a hobby.
I have a recumbent bike that I ride. I bird watch all the time now. like seriously bird watch. I really love gardening. I love all these other things that just for me, not for any other excuse.
Yeah.
But I didn't know I didn't know.
That there was just
That
there was
you're
just
allowed
stuff out there
this.
for you.
That you're allowed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you think before that it had to be generative or that it had to just be a punishment?
I don't know where it comes from. And it's kind of almost Abrahamic, and it's penance. But it just felt like if I'm really enjoying this, then something's wrong.
Wow.
Or something's gonna come and take it from me and really hurt me.
So it sounds like a fear of the impermanence of happiness?
No, it was more getting psyched from life. You know, I had experiences as kids. Like, you know, as a kid, I had things where I was that kid that got invited to the party to get pushed in the pool. Like, I had those things actually happen. No, okay. I appreciate the but like.
But it makes me sad for small you.
But me too. But you get wired. That's like, you know, if you're abused as a kid, which I wasn't. My parents were amazing, but life has a way of getting in certain ways, you know, and those things get stuck in you, for better or for worse, and you have to learn to love them, not fight them or change them. You have to be like, I'm not gonna fucking yell at a 12-year-old boy because something that it wasn't his fault for. You know?
Right.
But for a lot of my life, I lived like I deserved that. That's what you get for being a dork, dude.
Oh.
And so that if you live your life like that, which a lot of us do, because it gets us places.
Right.
Especially if you're starting out somewhere, especially if you're an 18 or 19-year-old kid that's an artist, you have to be very self-critical in order to grow.
Right.
But if that thing becomes a cancer, so to speak, which I find it to be in everybody now, or maybe it's always been there, that you have to control that self-critic, and you have to remember where it came from. Mine came from, dude, shut the fuck up, and you won't get beat up anymore. Just whatever you think, just keep it to yourself, and it worked. Like,
and yet you made expressive creative art, which is fascinating.
Yeah, but like that was like when I was 20 and I'd left and I started, you know, I was drinking and taking whatever, and it was, you know, I was a kid from the 90s, and that was the height of American capitalism, and everybody lived like a prince. Everybody had air conditioning and a new set of clothes every year, you know what I mean? And so kids from our generation were just like, nothing is ever going to happen wrong. My parents said we can be anything. Healthcare will be there. You know
exactly. Oh, God.
Not what like a 19-year-old has to go through now.
Right. Right.
Which is like, I don't even know if I'm going to be here in 30 years because the planet's going to be 5 degrees more.
Exactly. Everything is irreparably changing, whereas for us it was very much like, you can do anything you want.
No, I think that we hit the watermark on that one, and then
Yeah.
It's just, thankfully, because it turns out the rest of the world was suffering.
Right.
While we were enjoying the AC.
Exactly.
And now, in retrospect, I'd rather have been in the heat. If it would have meant not this, you know what I mean?
Right.
But.
Well, and I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel like it was almost like I at least learned about this stuff almost what I feel like is not necessarily too little too late, because like I was accidentally complicit in some of it as being younger, but it was also like
just being alive.
Acting on a lack of knowledge. Yeah.
Just being alive, you suck somehow.
Yeah.
You know?
That I was like, okay, I couldn't have known that. It's like, I always think, okay, I made decisions based on the information I had at the time. Mm-hmm. And so we didn't know this when we were teenagers.
Well, yeah, and we also didn't have the fucking internet. We just, you know, I remember when we had beepers.
Oh my God, I remember beepers.
You know, and saying I love you was 143, you know what I mean?
Yes!
And you know, and again, I've become that fucking cliche, like white bearded dude at the bar. It's like, I remember in Boston when we had to just wait and just be somewhere, and that's how you ran into people. And it's true though.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
And but then again, that sucked too.
I remember I was one of my first friends that had a cell phone, and I swear that thing could have worked in a concrete bunker. It should be in the Smithsonian. It was one of those, like, it looked like a brick with like a tiny flap attached to it.
It must have been a Nokia of some sort.
It was art. Like
Hashtag Motorola Razor.
Yeah. It was wonderful. I did not have a beeper. I really wanted a beeper, but I did get my first AOL screen name at the age of 12. My parents trusted me with that.
That sounds apropos.
It was great. I was in a lot of communities that traded like REM bootleg tapes.
Oh yeah, remember when MP3s took all night to download?
Exactly.
Remember when there was orange groves as far as the eye could see?
I mean, I grew up in the valley, so like accurate. That's part of Chatsworth. That's it's like you kind of nailed it.
Just like, OJ was this really weird summer day.
Exactly. Not just all my parents' colleagues on TV all of a sudden. That was weird.
I just put that together.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're just sitting there like this, like.
Yeah. I'm just like, why are all of them on TV?
What's the deal?
No words. No, that was very weird. Yeah, like that whole like perspective shift thing. And I'm curious, I latched onto my brain that you said you have a new album coming out.
Cool.
Yeah. And I was wondering what was different about making this album because you said it was in service to others.
I made one before it.
Oh.
And then I shelved it because it was like, because it was all like sad shit, which is cool. I mean, I dig it, but I don't want it. That's not being of service. And I'm not saying I put out a happy record. I didn't. But it's just what it sounds like when I decide to be of service. That's the best way I can put it. So there's Whitesnake and there's Liberace, but then there's also like John Cage and just weird shit in it. And, you know, if you find service of it, then thank you. That's all I wanted.
I find service of the sentence with those three references in the same place.
Cool. I mean,
my brain is already delighted.
At the same time, I've been fucking treated horribly because of doing things like that. You know, like by certain publications that have just been vicious, and it's like I've never even met this person, and they're attacking the way I look.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I mean, big publication kind of a thing, and you're just like. I said it to you earlier, where I was like, it's funny how it chooses you.
Yeah.
And just things choose you. And the best you can do is just be in your space, truthfully, and let things oscillate over you. You know, so if it's cool right now, rad. If it's not, rad. Just keep making your shit and don't worry about it.
I literally just imagined him like, okay, I'm the sine wave. And sometimes there's an LFO that comes in.
It's a really nice way of looking at it, because there are moments where it does, but it always comes back and it always goes down. And you'll have money and you won't have money. And that person that you were going to get married to, this is the wrong person. And I thought I liked vanilla, but fuck, I really like strawberry now. And a lot of us, when those moments happen, we think lesser of ourselves. Like, how can I not be this constant fucking lighthouse in this sea of blah, you know what I mean? It's just like, no, you're a changing, living being, and you gotta give yourself space to do that. I don't mean be lazy.
Right.
I don't mean sit around and do heroin all day. But, I mean, if you have money and it's not hurting anybody, then fuck it.
Well, and it sounds like also, like, not, I'm trying to frame it positively, because a phrase that came to mind was to have a lack of hostility towards change. But I'm like, how do I reframe that?
Have faith in the experience. Like, it's just going to keep moving regardless of what the fuck you want.
Right, because you're going to change anyway.
Just guaranteed. That's physics.
Exactly.
And that's bigger than you.
Physics is bigger than you. I always found entropy really comforting.
You know, I don't believe... I know what paradoxical this statement is, but in absolute truth, I don't believe in that there is, you know, that this universe is going to spread out, and then it's just going to die. You know, then it'll come back together, or it'll touch another one, and bang. And
exactly.
It's in my younger, more experimental days, doing DMT and seeing that, like, oh shit, this is relax. Just fucking relax. Just relax.
As someone who does not have a consistent sense of time, clinically it's called time blindness.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. I have a great sense of direction, strangely. but my sense of time is completely contextual.
But they're interweaved together. Space-time is the same thing. And that's why I find it so fascinating that you're like, well, the three dimension I'm fine with, but the fourth doesn't exist to me is like, what?
Well, the fourth always exists to me. It just is very context specific.
Good, because then I feel like the concept of time really does most of us in.
Yeah.
I should be this by this point.
Right.
I should have had this by this point. He's late. I'm early. Now, all of those service us in a good way. People should be on time. And I get it. But like, especially at being 40 and my friends being at this age, a lot of people are going through like, what the fuck am I doing?
Right.
I'm this age. I should have X, Y, and Z. And like, we're not our parents.
Well, I think a lot of it comes back to the false narrative that you were talking about.
Right. And that's just, you know, sociological conditioning, patriarchy, matriarchy, et cetera, you know.
Yeah, because we were conditioned that, and it's really such a recent thing even, that generations have had these expectations of you should do X by Y.
No.
Well, before, some of it was based on just like, how do humans survive?
No, I mean, I think we haven't been anywhere in history now that, like, for example, a woman that doesn't have a child by the time she's 40 is not some anomaly or something that we hush about.
Right.
You know, like, I think for the first time in history, we're starting to get to that place where it's like that, whether or not I can reproduce as a man or a woman doesn't give you any worth.
Now our problem is that actually we probably reproduce too much.
There's 4 times too many people on this planet.
Yeah, and so like it's kind of like how to deal with the opposite. And also, I mean, like thinking about, you know, a woman that hadn't reproduced by 40 probably was like, thank God alive, because reproduction for women is like the biggest. Yeah, it's the most hazardous thing that they could do.
But also there was, you know, what was it? Who was I watching a documentary last night on the Marcos family in the Philippines, and how like this one, his wife or something like that, you know, just some point it's like, if you don't give me a fucking son, you know, you're out of here.
Wow.
And it's that kind of Henry VIII kind of thing that we just in like the last 3 years are getting like chimps out of a cave, just like we can't do this. And I have a whole theory on that as to like, there was a power grab for women's power, something that happened a couple thousand years ago, because it's like, I think dudes got scared or got outplayed on something, and we're like, this is never happening again. Dude, I'm not kidding. I think...
I laugh because it's a defense mechanism.
Because... You know what I mean? Like that there was a moment, a concerted effort to wipe out femininity, and it seems like it was like 2.5, 3,000 years ago. Something happened.
I mean, there's a lot of theories about it intersecting with both agriculture and also monotheism, but
You know, but like how, at the same time that, you know, supposedly you have the Hittites and all these, let's say, desert dwellers, but then you had the Vikings where they didn't have as much say, but women still fought in wars.
Right.
And they still drank with men.
Right.
And they hit them back.
Right.
And so it's not like it was... I just don't get it. I don't get why the pendulum swung so hard in one direction.
I think that you, in some part, nailed it, though, because part of it, the reason why I laughed is that it's usually out of fear. Like, when people act out of aggression, it's out of fear.
Well, there's a joke about, like, you know, that a man is afraid of being made fun of and a woman's afraid the man's going to kill her.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Well, it's just that, like, a woman without violence can make a man feel like nothing. And that's probably the scariest thing to something that uses its physical being to exercise its life.
Right.
And now... there's this being that not only I lust for, I don't even know what these feelings are, and I'll do anything for her. What the fuck? I don't, you know, and no, we can't do this. We got to set some rules.
It's too threatening, yeah.
We got to set some rules, man. You know, and something happened. And, you know, so I don't think we would have, and this is not me being a white knight, I just don't think we would have such a warring tribe. That would still be the case. It would just, I think, be a different version than we have right now, which is just this ununderstandable misogyny and just fear.
Yeah.
Which is not understandable.
No, and I think that...
Because some of the most misogynistic men have the most doting wives.
Of course.
The most, sanctimonious versions of femininity around them.
Right.
And they still fucking hate women.
Well, that's why I think that it is out of fear as opposed to, and that's why I'm glad that you're speaking about it, because in some ways I don't think it is up to women to change men's minds, because it doesn't matter what it is that women do. Like I can be wearing this dress, or I have a variety of giant hoodies that I love because they're cozy. It's like wearing a blanket. I could be wearing whatever, and I will get yelled at by men. And so I know that it's not something I'm doing because I'm merely existing in the world. Mm-hmm. But my presence somehow inspires fear and aggression simply by existing. So I'm like, I don't think this is my job. I don't think this is my job to change your mind. I don't think it's my job to alter your behavior.
It's because you're viewed as an object.
Right, and so an object is not going to teach someone who does not see them as a subject.
No, you can't.
Like, that's not an I, thou, that's an I, it. And so it is not going to be able to teach.
No,
so
it is something I'll fight over.
Yeah, and
it's
so
cute that it wants to talk. But
exactly, exactly. And so evaluating that, it's amazing to me when I hear other men talking to other men or talking to audiences about this exact thing, because
I was lucky. I grew up around a lot of women, so there's like that indoctrination, and I just think you got to get people when they're kids, or else there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, because it's like you were talking before about that, like imprinting.
Yeah. You gotta get them when they're kids, and because there's a lot of dope dads now. Every one of my friends that are fathers, I'm just like, literally say to them like, that kid is lucky to have you. You're like the coolest motherfucker on the planet.
Yeah.
And so there are really good people being born now, and I love. For a minute, I showed kids how to make records on their laptops over at at MI.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so you get to see. What like young kids are and stuff. Like I say young kids, but I'm 40, I can say that shit now.
There you go.
There's a different level of awareness and just the skipping. You know who did it really, really well is that the Jump 22 Street, that comedy, when they both go to an updated current high school. And remember like when one of them was like, "What's that? That's gay, bro." And everybody, all the normal kids were like, "Why the fuck do you have to talk like that?"
Yeah, they were like,
you fucking dinosaur. And it's like, God, that's fucking nice that's happening.
Yeah.
That's so fucking nice that that's happening. I'm so sorry that it's all ending now.
Yeah, that's I wonder that, because I think in some ways, I talked to another artist about this, about the impermanence of things. And we talked about climate change, and that she was saying, like in some ways, like humans have to accept that maybe like this was our time and this time is ending.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that both accepts change, but also is like, I do still have a potentially irrational belief that humans will continue. It may not look like it does now because we have accidentally, and some people purposefully because they had the knowledge, but ruined the environment where we live. Like the Earth is going to keep going.
Oh, the Earth
the Earth is going to keep cruising on.
And those that have money will end up in New Zealand and places like that. Truthfully.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where they're all bunkering out. And maybe that's actually the best thing that could happen. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, it's like I do believe that like humans will sustain themselves, whether it be on this planet or another one, because we're getting closer to that. But it's like, I do think that humans will survive, but will survive in a different format than we know now.
Everything I'm saying, I want to also, put in parentheses that I'm not a father. I don't have children.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that, like, understandably, a parent is going to have a biologically different, let's say, cavalierness than I have. About, it's all going to end, fuck it, right? And if I had a kid, I don't know if I'd be so cavalier about that statement.
Right.
So I'd like, if people are listening, to know that I'm not saying my point of view is any better or worse. It's just my insular experience.
Well, yeah, and I as a not parent as well, but as kind of like, I don't know if you enjoy spending time with your friends' kids. I love other people's kids. That's a good face.
You know, my cat's 20 years old. You know
Oh
what I
my
mean?
goodness.
Like, I like reading and listening to birds and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and just slow living.
I think that's why I love other people's children. Is that I love being around novel ideas and humans who are so mushy and forming themselves, and it's so cool. But at the end of the day, I too would like to be reading a book and just like taking things really easy.
No, you're doing your version of putting your oxygen mask on first, like, and you have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's what made it for a lot of horrible parents, is having kids that they didn't want to have. And I
Yeah.
feel that that's a lot of our population. It could be me. I don't even fucking know, because who knows what your parents thought when they had it. It's just that we don't have to do that anymore
Right.
as a species, and we
Right.
shouldn't.
Well, and we can nurture the people who are here.
We can, well, we can even learn how to do that in the first place properly. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? But it, that's, you know, I'm not saying people shouldn't have kids. Yeah.
Well,
I gotta make sure that that's, you know.
Well, it sounds like also like fostering care and love for others, because you just made something that's in service to people and what you're talking
The
about.
best I can with what I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, the best that I can with what I have and what I can do, you know, and oh God, yeah, because to be in a, and anybody that's listening that suffers from depression knows what I'm talking about. And there's all kinds of shades, but like, you know, finding a medication and it working. I take Lexapro, and a lot of alcoholics and comedians use it. I don't know why, but it's fast acting. So like in
Yeah.
3 days, I
Yeah.
was like, to wake up of a morning and be like possibility, as opposed to like, I'm not even supposed to work today. That was how I woke up every day. Like, I'm not even supposed to be here. This was a mistake.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to get going if that's your first thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't, and you know, you can't be there for the people that you love. You can't be there for yourself.
Yeah. It's like
And so things fall apart around you because you're not, you know, you're not putting anything in, not putting anything into it. It's just, it doesn't feel right. Nothing feels right. Nothing ever fucking feels right. Everything is you having to deal with something. This line is just too fucking much. Why do I have to go here? Why did I get that? Like, it's just, everything has to be dealt with, and it's torture, man.
Sounds like everything has to be dealt with and there's no possibility to enjoy it.
Enjoyment, it's like infinity. If there's a word for it, but you don't know what it is. And that's what
Gotcha.
it felt like.
What's it like getting to enjoy things now?
Biblical.
Yeah.
Right now with my roommate, before I came here, we were just sitting, you know, I moved into Laurel Canyon with her because that was the only way we could afford it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a best friend of mine of like 20 years, and she's going through a rough patch, and just, we were both sitting in a garden with one of our mutual close friends who just lost a parent, and I know what that's like. And we had this just round robin of being there for each other while the wind was blowing. And I bought like a fuck ton of bird feeders in my yard, so it
Oh, so you get all the birds.
sounds like Avery, yeah, and they're all fighting each other, and that's fucking awesome in the morning, especially when you're caffeinated.
So you like
No,
you
yeah,
like aggro bird watching is what I'm
No,
hearing.
I'm like really.
Like a bird instigator.
No, I'm like Dr. Manhattan complex. For the birds. But just to have that moment where we were being kind to each other in the sunlight with a breeze, and actually to be really able to be grateful for it and not be like, I should be grateful for this. Which, do you know the difference? When you really know the difference. And I've had this life up to this that I should be grateful for this, or I should have this moment. So when I had these really big moments, it's like your song's on the radio, you're on the TV or whatever, and I'd be like, and it would be depressing to everybody around you. because they were with you along the way up.
Right. And people can feel the difference.
And then you get there and you're just like, cool. And having somebody say to you, like, did that mean anything to you, what that person just said to you? And you're just like, yeah. But you're acting and everybody can, you're a bad actor and everybody can see it.
And then you're ashamed that you're being an actor. It sounds like you would spiral.
All day long.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so then, like, obviously booze, which was my thing.
Yeah.
Because it's legal.
True. And socially acceptable.
Yes. And if you can be charming on it, you can get away with it for a lot longer than you should.
Agreed.
You know? And I grew up in a family that was part of the gig.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And my dad was a happy drunk, so it was never a negative thing until it became a negative thing, you know.
Right. Right. It's fascinating encountering you now that you've had this almost like renaissance.
Great word.
Thanks.
Because that's exactly what it is. Yeah. Yeah, man. Your listeners can't see this dopey smile, but like it's just indescribable.
Yeah.
And that like something my therapist really put in perspective, because it was like when I first met with this woman, it was like, I don't know what this fucking thing called happiness is. I don't know what you guys are talking about. And she's like, look, I can't promise you bliss. That doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
I can show you resilience, and resilience is happiness, and that does exist. And I was like, you know, I'll give myself a year, and if not, you can kill yourself whenever. You know, like that kind of thinking of like, I'm okay as long as I have that one option, right?
Yeah, to have it's
always there just in case.
Yep, passive suicidal ideation, and frankly, to our listeners, a lot of people have that. So if you do have that,
no big deal.
One, it's normal. Two, talk to people about it.
Now I have this imagery of don't break glass thing. What were we talking about? I'm sorry.
We were talking about your renaissance, and then you had a really, really lovely smile, and you wanted people to be able to see that, but I think that they could hear it, because you had a really sweet little breath right before that.
Yeah, I
and then you were talking to your therapist about resilience.
Right, and so it was that she was right. I believed her. It took me a lot of work. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of it is just practice. And then with the right medication, it was like to go from a place where you're constantly in pain to a place where you're not. Mm-hmm. Not in ecstasy, but just not, is ecstasy.
Yeah.
You know, and I find myself now not wanting to always get fucked up, which was, you know, that was the thing. Is if you're down there, you're just like, I want to get. It didn't matter what it was. You know, so if I was dating a heroin addict, I would sneak off her methadone, or if it was this or that, or, you know, just anything to take the edge off. And now my fucking vice is ginger turmeric tea, and it's.
Is it the one from Trader Joe's?
No, it's Rishi, and I get it by the pound.
Oh my god.
Because I make it really strong.
Same.
Because it comes with honey caked on it too.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's like I go through a pound a week of that.
Oh my god. I add honey to mine, but I get the one from Trader Joe's now. I want to try yours because it already has the honey on it.
So it's $20 a pound on Amazon. Just try it. Rishi ginger turmeric tea.
I'm into it.
I can't recommend them enough, because I also have 2 pounds of their Moroccan mint, and their chamomile blend is great.
Oh my god. I'm like, our producer Laura is going to love this too, because Laura drinks more tea than anyone I've met, and I've met a lot of people who are British.
No, so probably
Laura
what
bests
I'm
them
recommending
all.
is like the equivalent of PG. She's probably like, Rishi's just for the fucking plebs, dude.
But PG is so comforting because it's medium okay tea. That's what recommends it, is that there's
like
nothing stellar about it.
To me, that shit is like the strongest black tea. I don't know what it just, don't Boris take us to the chorus, builders tea.
Yeah, and there's nothing, it doesn't taste particularly good or bad. It just sort of like is there. And so you're like, all right.
It is a builder's tea, because like, you know, I used to work construction, and it's like you wake up hungover and you resent the fucking world. And so it's like you need spiteful caffeine.
Spiteful caffeine. There, PG
tips,
tips, spiteful caffeine.
By like 6 a.m. and you're like, what the fuck, man? I could have been somebody.
I gotta get me some PG tips, spiteful caffeine.
With an English accent, but I won't do that.
Let's not. I shouldn't do that either. That will only only end badly.
Have you ever had an English friend just like call me, tell you that like it sucks, please stop doing it?
Well, my problem is that when I'm around someone, I accidentally will pick up certain things, and so I've accidentally appropriated certain words or occasionally intonations of friends from other countries, and then I'm just like, I'm not Madonna. I'm so sorry.
My buddy Casper that does all the artwork for Big Black Delta, he's English, and we were hanging out in the desert for like 2-3 days, and he was just as gentle and kindly as he could. He's just like, and John's really shitty English accent, because I think he was just listening things that were just, and me just being quiet and like, I'm never gonna do that again.
Noting down in my mental notepad.
Never again. No, and my manager, Ryan, who lived in London for 12 years, had a kid there. Never picked up the accent.
I'm always mystified by that.
Me too. And I'm impressed, and that's not why I like working with him, but it's like something that I, aesthetically say to people, I'm like, dude, this dude will not break.
There you go. He
will not break. So if he's like, I don't like this, just don't bother trying to convince him.
He just doesn't like it. That's it.
And so it's like, if I send him music that he doesn't like, it'll just be like, I got this song. And I had a grandmother like that, so I totally know how to handle it.
Yeah. I love people who, I love that trait in people where they're like, well, I don't want to say anything bad, so it's
but
kind
I'm not gonna lie.
So exactly, it's kind of like in a way like, it's not lying by omission, that's different, but it's just like, you're like, I'm going to spare you by simply not saying anything. I've done that too, where in conversation, if I ever am really unsure of how to say something politely, nicely, kindly, I just sort of hum. I've definitely done that with people where they'll say things and I just go,
The best thing to do is to be the most hardcore honest, which is, I don't get it.
And I think people get scared of admitting that too, when they don't understand something.
If someone says to me, I just don't get it, that doesn't sting.
No.
Because I don't like it hurts. But if somebody says to me, I remember, when I was a lot younger and back when labels would do things like, you have to go do the rounds and shit like that. And I remember my manager at the time taking me to the guy in New York. And we have this meeting and everything, and at the end of it, manager's like, brass tacks, so what are we doing here? And he just looks at me and he's like, sorry, son, I just don't get it. And I just remember, even at 20 or 21, being like, cool, man.
Yeah. We're not on the same page.
There's nothing fun. And so it's just to be able to say that to people. I mean, by doing that, you just cut out the critic business by 1,000,000%. Just to be able to say, instead of attacking people, just being like, hey, it's not for me.
Well, that's what you were saying before about some of the reviews and people that really are in the business of just cutting others down.
But you need clickbait.
And that's the thing is to me, I think about when I don't care for something, I just don't engage with it. Yeah.
I think that doesn't work as a business model anymore.
Yeah.
Because that can only work you can only be mean and cynical if the economy's doing well and everybody can eat. That's the only way cynicism and things like that work, because we have space to be like, isn't that funny? But when things
that's a great voice. I don't know what country that was from, but
that's fucking the Valley, bro.
Maybe that's why I liked it.
But now that we're getting to this place that I'm really grateful, and I'm hoping that earnestness, not forever, it doesn't have to stay here forever.
Yeah.
But we just need a little bit of it right now. We just need a little. That's why, all the shit that Shia LaBeouf is putting out right now. I don't know if you've seen.
I haven't.
Honey Boy.
No, I kept seeing billboards for it, but I haven't.
Honey Boy or the Peanut Butter Falcon or whatever. These movies that are just man, thanks for making that. Thank you for making that.
Thank you for making the thing.
Right? Or you hear a song and you're like, fuck, dude, thank you for doing that. That's being of service.
There we go.
As opposed to look how big my dick is, and then you're just like, God.
That does not do me a service.
Back when everybody had money and nobody had to worry about, what everybody gets hit with when you wake up every morning. I don't want to hear about your irony or cynicism. Fuck you,
No.
man.
Ironic art deeply confused me. I mean, I appreciate
No, it has its
I
place
appreciate
in
ironic
time.
humor.
All of it
I've always liked ironic humor, and I remember that like really I quite like. But I'll reframe it. I don't like mean-spirited art.
Mean-spirited, I think, is no longer has any room.
Yeah.
Because like when you don't have healthcare, which is something I was saying that I had to work on my bio today for fucking whatever, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And this guy was like, when you were detoxing and going through the DTs, why didn't you go to a hospital? And I was like, I didn't have insurance, so I had to do it the American style, which was like I stayed in my friend's closet downtown. And
Oh my God.
For 5 days.
Yeah. Just oh my God.
You know, because I couldn't afford the doctor. You know what I mean? And it's like that's just American. My mom, after my dad died, he, for whatever reason, missed a payment on the life insurance. So my mom at 72 is still working.
Wow.
And, you know, when I talk to her, she's like, I still got a job, so I'm grateful. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, that is the most American fucking thing ever now.
Yeah.
You know, and...
Yeah, and so when you're, I guess...
And so when everybody's kind of under that, I don't want to fucking, making fun of Kim Kardashian is not fun.
No, it loses its meaning in the scope of what you're talking about.
You know, yeah, like it's just, I don't want to... You can kind of see it, why people love superhero movies and, you know, just this idea of fairness, which is just a human term.
Right.
It's a genetic algorithm that's in all of us. There's a really great YouTube video of this monkey experiment. They're in a plexiglass cage, and they're feeding both of them cucumber slices.
Okay.
And then they start giving a grape to one of them. And to these monkeys, grapes is just crack. So the other one eats the cucumber slice. All
right, I was looking over.
Again, this is like, the brain is this big. Okay?
Right.
And then he gets another one, and now he's not eating it. Now he looks at the guy, and he throws it out, and he's like, starts gesturing, like, what the fuck? And
Yeah, like, why?
He's freaking out in this fucking room. So,
wow.
fairness, thinking about this, fairness is a genetic, hardwired thing in all of us. And that's why all of us have such a profound, I don't know what it is, call to it. But you have to remind yourself that that's not nature. That is a human evolutionary term.
Fairness.
And you're lucky to get it when you get it. And a lot of times you're not.
Right.
And that's okay.
And that kind of comes back to...
not a reflection on your worth.
On you. Yeah, because that goes back to then, I guess kind of in a way like filling your own cup, or even realizing that you have a cup that you can fill.
And you're allowed to have that cup.
Yeah, and that cup is 1, there, and 2, not filled with punishment, and 3, that it's okay that it exists. A lot of qualifications about this cup.
Because when you don't get self-worth, or love, whatever you want to call it, if you don't know what it feels like, you don't know what it feels like. You don't know. And so then all these things don't happen.
Right. Well, because it sounds like when you were talking about some of the accomplishments you've had through music, it sounds like some of them didn't like land, and that you felt.
That was the other thing why I shelved the record, because I finished it, and then I started thinking about having to explain to people the record, and then I started going through like, well, it's really been painful, and then I thought about everyone that I'd ever made since I was 20.
Yeah.
And they all had the same story. I just went through this fucking thing, and it's and I was just like, God, this is a fucking old story. And not only that, it might have not made that good of an art on certain levels. At least for me, I can't enjoy a lot of it. Let's try a new house.
There you go.
And so it was like, let's come from another place. Let's come not from a victim. Not you had to overcome anything. You know, when were you the happiest? Christmas morning when I was 12. You know, the lights and all this other shit. Okay, let's just stay there.
Yeah.
And make things like that. And so it was like, again, being able to be in therapy and with the right medication, I was able to do that.
Right.
And I just didn't want to keep dun 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 dun. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
It's just like, that's my bio, bro. Because there was a minute bad shit happened to me. I lost my father, then I lost a friend to cancer, then I got had my gear stolen and all my tapes stolen, and then I had my identity stolen. I had just this shit all just consistently, you know what I mean? So I had the greatest excuse.
Right.
To
I like that you called it an excuse, though.
I did, and I used it as it. I got fucking lit, and so anytime anybody would fucking be like, dude, what the fuck? I'd be like, you don't know what it's like. And they, you know, they didn't.
Right.
And I'm an intelligent person, and they're an intelligent person. They're like, well, fuck, I can't out-talk this dude. Fine.
They're like, all right. Well, and you changed the narrative. Like, we were talking about that fear of change, but you said, like, all right, I'm going to try a new house.
Yeah, I hit physical rock bottom, like my body was giving out, and I had to do something.
Yeah.
Hopefully you or other people don't have to get that far, but if you do, it's okay.
Yeah.
You can change things. Nothing's permanent. That was like when I'm coming back to the DMT thing, that was the beauty of it. It was just like, oh, you know, the light behind the light behind the light, which is essentially the source, which is you, never stops. It just always lands somewhere.
Yeah.
And, you know, dress it however you like. Call it God, Yahweh. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
You're allowed to say Yahweh. It's not, you didn't.
Spell it out.
Yeah, I was going to say you didn't write it down.
Okay.
You didn't like Yud Hey Vav Hey it up, or you didn't Adonai. You got a lot of options here.
I know. I do and I don't.
Well, like you said, the light's going to land anyway.
No. Well, I don't want to offend anybody's
Sensibilities.
no, you know, religion.
No, I know.
If you find peace in it.
I like that you did just pick up the teeny tiny dumbbells that are under my couch.
These pink 2-pound is in every apartment in Los Angeles.
They are.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I got them is that a friend of mine had convinced me to go to bar class with her, which is actually low-key torture.
And everybody has the same exact story, which is like, my friend, it's not what did it, and I'm just like, no, just own the fucking pink.
No, now I use them, though, because I memorized the bar exercises, because I learned... No, I can show you. You make little W's, so you go like this, but you do it like this. But
For your shoulders?
well, you can shoulder, but if you pull your arms back like that, almost like little like
then
wings.
You get the back.
Yeah, but do that over and over again for like 2 to 3 minutes.
No.
Now you see why I didn't go to classes. You did exactly what I did. The second an instructor was just like, and now repeat, I was just like, I'm not gonna.
No.
Like, whenever someone tells me to do something, my natural reaction is like,
Are you fucking with my autonomy?
exactly. Make
outta
me.
here, lady.
Make me. And then I was like, wait, I just paid $40 for you to tell me what to do. I should probably do the thing.
Do what I do. Get the air horn app on your phone, so when you're leaving a room, just...
Oh my god. No, but I did use them earlier today because for some reason, like a YouTube workout, I'm okay with that one step removed of someone on YouTube telling me what to do.
I'm the exact same thing. So I have a recumbent bike, and
yeah.
I watch like either horses or mountain bikes or racing thing, and it's like, this is great for me. I don't need like a 25-year-old dude screaming at me.
Exactly.
Being like, come on, bro, I know you can do better, and it's just like...
And I'm like, I'm going to do worse just to spite you.
I just don't respond good to nagging.
Me
whether
neither.
It's platonic or whatever, just somebody being like, what, is that all you can do? You know what, actually, Tad? Yeah.
It is.
I'm going fucking home, dude. Fuck you.
That's so funny. Do you remember, well, I mean, I don't know what you encountered of this, but the spate of men reading the book The Game that occurred...
When was this?
Oh, God. Pickup artistry started probably, like, mid-aughts, like, kind of, like, early 2000s. And it's carried through. Like, there still is a large pickup artist community. But one of the main things is, like, they try to say something random to catch you off guard. And I'm like, haha, buddy, you can't do that. I have ADHD. Everything's random. So I'm just like, this is my everyday life. But the second one was, like, negging, which I have the same response to, like, because a lot of times they would neg people in order, like, they'd be like, oh, that's a great dress. Like, did your friend pick it out?
So the thinking behind that is, this woman's attractive. All she's ever gotten is compliments.
Exactly.
So people do this to celebrities.
Yeah.
where they're like, I'm gonna go say something fucked up to fucking Sofia Coppola.
Exactly.
What were you thinking in Godfather 3?
Yeah.
Right? And then
Yeah.
you're just like, stop, like a record scratch. How did I get here?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Now, like, the truth is she was 14 years old.
Right.
Leave her the fuck alone. Why would you say something rude to somebody? But there's this...
It's a power grab.
No.
Well, at least that's how it felt to me. Is like
No.
someone is trying to usurp for me. Like,
No, it's more of a toddler kind of like, I'm here.
There's also that.
I'm here. Give me. It's just
Gimme,
that.
gimme, gimme,
It's
gimme.
just that where it's like, I've seen it in people where they're like, and then when you're like, you don't give them what they want, then they're like, oh, you think you're just fucking, and then all of a sudden you're just this.
Oh, and then they become, yeah, well, guys do get aggressive when you don't give them what they want, she says, with dramatic understatement.
And that, again, is just fucked up parenting.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say it.
Yeah.
It's just fucked up parenting, because, like, that was besides growing up around women and then having a sister that was 6 years older than me, so it was like, even if I did get out of line, I did get my ass kicked. But, my dad would backhand me, if anything, don't you ever, that kind of fucking thing. But there's a lot of people that isn't their reality.
Right. Right.
And not only that, if you question that reality, that's them fighting words.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I get it, because if fucking a monster drinking dude came in here right now and was like, what the fuck's wrong with you, dude? Bitches are supposed to be fucking, like that. And I've actually had, weirdly enough, on a side thing, just have platonic girlfriends and hearing their platonic guy friends talk about those girls differently when they're not around.
Oh.
So there's this underlying algorithm always running, even though, like, I respect the fuck out of women, # all women are heroes.
Uh-huh.
But at the bottom of it, it's like, I'll say whatever the fuck I need to say to get this done. And it's like, well, that's 85% of the planet, dude.
Well, and it's also strange to me that, like you said, I do think that some of it is conditioning, and a client of mine said this, and I quite liked it. They said your first thoughts are garbage. It's what you do with your second and third thoughts that count, because you might have been conditioned to think a certain way.
Not even the garbage. I think that's too much and that's too judgmental. They're not your fault. My first thoughts are not my fault. How I adapt and move to them is pretty much my definition of my personality. Because,
Gotcha.
all of us blurt out shit. All of us say things. All of us were fucking babies that were just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And some of us are really good at covering it up or managing it, and some of us aren't.
Right.
Some
of it spills out.
But I just think that, like, if these kids were taught that, like, hey, if you have to trick a girl into sleeping with you, you've already lost. Yeah. Then it's not as fun running the race if you don't have to run it. The trophy isn't as fun. I know it's so fucked up of an analogy, but it's just like even that simple thing.
Well, and it's even framing it as that it's not a race.
But I'm hoping, and I'm seeing that that's different.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a long time.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about, we live in Los Angeles. If you leave 300 miles out of here, it's a whole different fucking thing.
Oh, yes.
And you go outside of Canada and the United States, it's, I'm not counting most of Europe, but we got a long way to go, guys.
I was like, welcome to this week's episode of Why Not Both, where we talk about uplifting topics such as gender dynamics, climate change, the tiny pink dumbbells that appear.
The nicest way to commit suicide.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The pink dumbbells that appear within everyone's home in Los Angeles that always have the tale of the one friend that brought you to bar class.
Fuck you, Susan.
Mine's Zoe, and I can't fault her. She's awesome.
Zoe, what you're not seeing is she's writing on a dry erase board. What she really thinks about you.
How dare you move to Iceland and forsake me? That was a pretty good dry erase board song.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was like dry erase mixed with Baby Elephant. I'm into it.
Well, I'm glad you caught my, what's it called? what is it called when people listen to things and it makes my inspiration, your influences.
There we go.
So what was your influences for this? Dude, one anecdote, I remember being in Germany, which is so much fun to play literal, non-literal games with. And, you know, it was like a press day because I was out there, so the label has everybody show up one day to the... And this woman had shown up who was, I guess, like the equivalent of like, you know, a supermarketing tabloid kind of a thing.
Okay.
Like a People magazine.
Yeah.
Not something like Laura would work for or anything like that. Just,
Right.
So this woman's like just fucking furious that nobody's gotten her water, and she's like, "You're 5 minutes late," and, you know. And so I'm just like, "Fuck it." And she's like, "So what is this record about?" And I'm like, "It's about 45 minutes long." With the accent.
Oh no!
And she just didn't skip a beat. She just kept going. Like it was just like in and out. And,
Oh my god.
Having fun.
That's
with those moments.
That's, I think, perhaps a good note to end on, of just to have fun with those moments. Just to have fun with any moment
guys,
if you
just
can.
have fun. Just, put a bird on it.
And you are a bird watcher. You're chronically putting so many birds on your yard.
I just picked up a Celestian 100 binoculars. They're like this big.
Ooh.
And,
that sounds intimidating, and it also has Celestian in the name, and I like that.
Celestial. And, yeah, no, I had to get a tripod for it because it's just so heavy.
A tripod for your binoculars?
Look, I don't fuck around.
This man is not messing around. You heard it here first.
I mean, if you're gonna do it. Oh my god.
Do it with a tripod.
Yeah. They're like $5 on Amazon.
I feel like this has been a long-running, like, low-key advertisement for Amazon.
Yeah. Just, really, it's a good way to test your imagination.
There you go. Well, I think everyone's fallen down an Amazon / Alibaba / just even internet hole where you look up one.
Alibaba.
Oh my God. Well, it's connected to, I think, and in China the app is called Taobao, where it's like you can fall down a hole of one moment you're looking at like bathtub stoppers, and then like it spirals from there.
No, because even if it's $5 for a $500 thing, it takes 9 months to get here.
That's true. But do you know what the magic of that is? Then you've forgotten that you got yourself a present, and then a package shows up, and you're like,
rationalization.
Is it rationalization? Is it the fact that I'm neurodivergent? We'll never know.
Next time I will come with my perfunctory dictionary with extra bigger words.
Extra bigger. I think they call that a thesaurus, but I'm unsure.
Is it a laceration on my sanity? This Amazon you speak of?
Sometimes I wonder, I'm like, am I entertaining or infuriating or like some intersection?
I don't know. Thank you for having me, though.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode of Why Not Both. If you liked what you heard, please make sure to like us and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. You can also come hang out with us on social media. We are at WNB the podcast, both on Instagram and Twitter. This season, we are brought to you by Under the Radar. Under the Radar is a nationally distributed print, music, and entertainment magazine and website. You can find them at www.undertheradarmag.com, and feel free to support them on Patreon. Extra special thanks to our producer Laura Studeris, who has been absolutely amazing. Thank you again, and I look forward to next week's episode.